Hello, folks, and welcome. Now, as you can see, if you're watching the video version, it's chilly where Alex is. It's cold here as well. We've had another cold week, which is great. It's funny. I put a post up on my Facebook yesterday, and I said, it's days like these I love that I drive a Land Rover. And I was telling Julie on the way home, because I picked her up, I dropped her off to work because it was snowing, and she was like, "You didn't put that up, did you?" I was like, I did. I honestly, I put that post up because I've discovered the people on my Facebook seem to like those type of posts, but they don't really like sometimes like my really deep business posts. But we're actually going to get into all that. But first, Alex, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Great. I was just saying as well, before we jumped on the call, I said I actually was off at the gym again this morning, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Yeah. Good stuff. It's quite addictive.
It's so addictive, to be honest with you. It's just, I don't know what it is. Like, you feel so much better after the gym. It's like, and day one, you wouldn't really notice it. You might have felt a bit better, but you're like, eh. But like now, like the old you and the new you that goes to the gym more regularly, it's mad. You can see why the people that get over that initial hump and stick at it just never stop.
I saw quite a cool quote the other day from Alex Hormozi, and it was about recharging in the day. So he was, I think the tweet said, there's two ways that you can recharge in the middle of a day. First thing is to nap, and the second is to go to the gym. And the gym is the only thing that will, like, basically the gym gets you jacked and a nap doesn't. That's basically what he was saying.
Yeah. And sometimes when you wake up after a nap, you're still a bit drowsy, aren't you?
It's crazy. Like I always feel, well, I'm not a very good napper. Like I know it probably would benefit me, but like my head is always on the go. So for me, I always just feel so much better after working out. And I usually come away from the gym in most cases with more energy than I went in with, which sounds really counterintuitive, but I think it's just a really good way of, feeling good and revitalizing yourself.
Yeah. And you come away with ideas.
Yeah, totally.
That's the mad thing. Like it's so cool. But speaking of ideas, and things like that, we're going to talk about something now today that some people stop and don't do because they don't get ideas. And that topic is content creation.
Yes. Big topic.
Now, a big topic. Now you are clearly, and I'll be really honest with this, you are further down the path of content creation than me. It's something that I've like always wanted to do, and this podcast is just one example of it, and just getting better at it. But you've been doing this for years. So what I view content, I'm going to outline what I think it is. Like I view content creation as, for me, it's near like finding my voice. That might sound strange, but I think that when you find your voice and you start creating content, you start expressing yourself online, doors open that otherwise wouldn't have opened. Because, it's so rare these days to see people actually just being genuinely themselves in public. People are always trying to put on a face or a front and kind of not, I don't want to say vulnerable, but kind of just be themselves. I think that's why content creation is so powerful. But I think that we might just dig into that a bit because it's so important for business and marketing. I think going forward, it's going to get more important.
Yeah, totally. I mean, talking about finding your voice online it sometimes takes people 5, 10, 15 years to actually find their voice. Like it's not something you just stumble across. Like the first time you put yourself out online and quote, create content, if that's what you want to do, sometimes it can be intimidating and it can come across like completely inauthentic. And if you've been creating content for a long time, if you go and look back at like one of your first posts or your first videos or whatever medium you decide to talk to the world in, I guarantee you you would read that post or watch that video and think, what the hell was I even thinking or what was I saying? And because it's like not the version of you that you are now. And it's probably like an inauthentic version of who you were back then. So find your voice is definitely a thing if you want to like share a message or share what you have of value with everybody else. And it's all about being, like you said, authentic, transparent, because people can spot bullshit a mile off, right? I mean, if you are trying to sell somebody something or trying to convey them a message, and you are trying to, quote, sell them on an idea, like, or hard sell them, whatever, and it's not the authentic you, human beings are very clever and they can spot that an absolute mile off, and it puts people off, puts people way off. Whereas if you were just to be like, I'm trying to be authentic now. This is exactly how you're listening to on the podcast or watching on this video is how I probably would come across in real life. Like, I am no different. So I'm not trying to be something I am not. This is just me. This is raw me.
And you find that works so much better when you're creating content.
100%.
There's a funny saying, and it's probably nothing to do with content, but I heard it before, and it was, it's harder to look busy than it is to be busy.
Oh, yeah.
And I suppose it's harder to create a false you than it is just to be you.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, let's look at, I'll tell you what it might be worth talking about then. This probably leads quite nicely into this. Like, why do we create content in the first place? So, most people create content because they want to share a message with the world, whatever that is, at the highest level. And people want to build an audience. So you want to build a following, you want to build a tribe of people that resonate with your message, love what you share, love what you do. And you don't want to attract people that don't like you or kind of on the fence about being with you or against you. Like, I much prefer to be the person who shares a message that people either like or they don't, because then the people that follow me are actual legit followers or legit subscribers or like a legit group of people that have the same thought process as me or like want to learn what I know. Whereas if you're, sharing stuff and attracting the wrong types of people, I think that can get a bit, it's just not the way to go at all. Because if you try and offer them something in the future, say if you're building an audience, like you're obviously building an audience to do something. So whether that is to offer them a product or a service or something else, whatever, if they're not completely like with you on that journey, then you're not going to have any progress whatsoever. You'll just have literally a massive following of people who are just kind of like not completely with you. So I realized a few years ago that like I attract more of the right people if I am just literally like this. And a lot of my medium is through either writing or video. Obviously, my background is copywriting, and I've moved into doing a lot of video creation. So it's a lot about putting yourself out there, and it's a scary concept as well, right? I mean, what was it like for your first experience putting yourself out, Peter? Whether it was the written word or video, whatever it was.
I'm trying to think back when it was, Alex. It probably was when we were working in the previous company. I think that was probably the first time I kind of went really properly live to a community. And I'll tell you a cool story, right? So I started doing this show. It was just teaching about Amazon. It was with another person that used to be working there as well. Maybe still is. But anyways, it was called Office Hours. And every week we go on and we just answer questions people have off the cuff. And I remember the first time I was sitting there and I was so nervous. I was terrified. I don't know why, but I was absolutely terrified. And we all the questions pre-selected, like they'd sent them in previously to the show. We had all the answers done and we just shaken, right? Now she was actually in South Africa and I was in Ireland. And we went live and literally that show seemed to go on forever, right? But then the next week we were just, I wasn't less prepared, but we were less nervous. The following week we were kind of like, we'll get this. And the funny too, right? You know, when something's new, like you get piles of questions, but as it went on a little bit, the questions kind of just dwindled a bit. Like the people were still watching, but there just wasn't as many questions coming in. But we were still able to make the show last 30 minutes with like 4 questions instead of 10. It was mad. And eventually it got to the stage where it's like, 3, 2, 1, live. All right. So you'd be there talking and then suddenly be like, okay, and we're live. And hello and welcome. It's funny. Do you ever watch Father Ted?
Oh, I've watched every single Father Ted episode there is. It's the best.
Well, there you are.
One of the best comedy programs.
You know where I'm going with this. So there was one of the it was the Eurovision Song Contest, and your man.
That's it.
And off stage, like this is a dig at like presenters and stuff. Off stage, like it showed him like being really drunk and kind of falling all around the place, you know. And then it's like how's he going to go on show? Just watch, just wait. He's professional. And the second he comes out live, it's like, hello and welcome to the Eurovision Song Contest. He was absolutely polished. And I think presenting is like that. Now, that you might be thinking, okay, that's not your true self. I don't think that's you. I don't mean it in that way. I mean it as in you get better at presenting a better version of yourself or the real you. Now, that's kind of, I think I'm kind of, I hope you know where I'm coming with this. It's kind of like you get less nervous. So therefore you're able just to flick into the mode where you're able to create and share and document easier, because at the beginning you're getting in your own way. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say there. But yeah, that was my first time, and it got so much easier after that, and I loved it. But then you see, when that kind of stopped, I was kind of like, you know, what do I have to share? What do I have to document? Like, who's going to be interested in me? Like you know, I tried since, and I created different podcasts. To be honest with you, they didn't work out, maybe because I stopped them and I maybe felt they weren't interested. I did a little podcast challenge once, like a podcast a day for 30 days. I did all this stuff, and you know, I was able to do it, but it just wasn't really resonating, because I was kind of thinking, well, people not really engaging with this. Whereas I realize now, looking back, you know, it was me stopping myself. It was the voice inside my head that was afraid, like, what do people really think? Whereas now, it's funny, I really don't care what people think. I don't mean that in a bad way, but in order to grow and to learn and to create content, you have to get over that. So I feel I've gotten over that in terms of like posting stuff on Facebook. I kind of feel, you know, I'll put up these podcasts, and we do have stuff to share, and I feel like I can do that. Yet I'm still probably nervous doing it on TikTok, because it's very different. Like on this show, me and you can talk. Whereas on, say, a TikTok, which I'm trying to grow now, I'm a little bit more like, what do I post there? How do I post it? Is it right? Is it wrong? But it is pretty mad. I put out I don't know what they're called, a TikTok, I suppose. Is that what they're called, Alex?
Yeah.
I put out a TikTok. Was it yesterday or the day before? Yesterday. Or the day before, sorry. And I looked at it yesterday, and there was like 700 people had watched that.
Oh, wow.
That's mad.
Unreal.
You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
That's content. And I think content is going to be such a big part of marketing a business in the future. I really do.
It already is.
The businesses that actually take... Yeah, but I think it's going to get so much bigger. Like, I think we're only scratching the surface of this.
Well, before we move on to that, just going back to what you said before about doing your first, you know, the office hours thing. And this is quite truthful. This is one thing I realized, that like most people literally are more scared of being judged by others than they are of dying. That's literally a quote I heard, or I don't know if it's an actual fact, but there's been studies done on that, and people have literally said that they're less afraid of dying than they are of being judged by other people. And it's such a big fear, because you're basically putting yourself out and being vulnerable. And the more you can show your flaws and show to people that you are like as vulnerable as any other person watching you or reading your message, whatever, the more people that will engage with you, and you'll get the right people following what you're doing. It sounds so counterintuitive, because you want to come across all confident and this and that. And like I said before, people can spot bullshit a mile off. So if you can get over that fear of being judged by people, it's one thing saying it and nothing doing it, because sorry, my dog is just trying to open the door. There, he's gone now. It's one thing saying it, another thing doing it. And it only comes with putting out yourself on a more consistent basis, and that's how you get over it. And you literally start caring less and less what people think, or you start caring less and less how a piece of content performs, and you create content like for creating content, for the marketing side of it, for getting your message out there. So yeah, I mean, let's move on now to like talking about the importance of content then. So whether you're a personal brand or a business or whatever. Well,
actually, before we do, Alex, I'm sorry, I know you're jumping on there. when did you upload your first piece of content? Do you remember?
Can you shut the door, man, and take the dog out?
This is real raw, uncut stuff here. Alex, you're muted.
There we go. Sorry.
Yeah. Right.
Right. When did I create my first piece of content? Well, if I actually look back on what I've done since I was like 10, 15 years old, and I didn't even realize I was doing it at the time, but when I first started mountain biking when I was like 15 years old, 14, I used to always go out and take videos of what we were doing, always. And I always had a camera, always had some way of documenting what we were doing. And I didn't know that 15 years later, that would become one of my full-time income sources of actually documenting what I'm doing and creating media and content for other people and myself to grow my audience. So I actually only had that realization like 5-10 years ago. Like, oh, holy shit, I've actually been creating content for so long. I've been documenting my life for so long. And when I first started putting out content and actually thinking about it was probably back when I was a personal trainer. So I was obviously putting out content to help other people, educate them on health and fitness, and, share what I was doing in the hope they would come and train with me or I could help them. And if I look back at some of the videos now, honestly, it makes me cringe because it's a completely different version than what I was. And if I watch them back, I've always tried to be authentic on camera. There's obviously been a few cases where I've come across like I'm reading from a script or something like that. But if I rewatch the videos of where I'm literally just talking to a camera, you do sense this like authenticity coming through. It's not like a staged thing. It is authentic. It is me being transparent, but my level of knowledge and where I was at is completely different to where it is today, where we're talking here. So it makes you view things through a completely different lens, gives you a different perspective on things. So that's probably when I put my first piece of content out now. And I know a lot of people who want to put out content. It's quite frustrating, actually. They want to put content out. They want to share what they're doing. They want to grow an audience or whatever they want to do. And yet there's this barrier in front of them that's stopping them because they're scared of what other people would think, or they don't want to put themselves on video, but yet they want to achieve all this other stuff. So it's like a double-edged sword. So it's a weird one. But like you were saying before, like content nowadays is literally the lifeblood of everything. If you have a business, you need content to market your products and services. If you have a personal brand, you need content going out consistently to grow your audience, to then offer them whatever it is you're offering. Like it is literally like the age we're living in, social media now. It's crazy. Like as much as people hate to like go against social media, oh, people are always on their phones, this, that, and the other, and why are people glued to this and won't come off that? Like that's the world we're living in. And if you want to thrive in that, then you have to almost accept the game, know how the rules work, and treat it as a game and win. That's how you win. If you try and go against that, you're literally going against human psychology, and you are not going to change human psychology. So
don't bother trying.
Yeah. I mean, as much as it's a funny thing, really, isn't it? Because 10 years ago, when social media wasn't really a thing, or before phones were a thing, that's
further.
You would escape the real world to go and play on a PlayStation or play on an Xbox or, do something in the virtual world. And now it's complete opposite. Like we spend so long or like so much of our lives in this virtual space, creating content, creating media, blah, 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 that your release is to get away from that computer or to get away from that social media thing. Whereas 15 years ago, it was the opposite. You would take a release to go and play on your computer or whatever it would be to get away from the real world. And now I think it's very striking a fine balance. So, but I understand how valuable content is, and it's exactly why I'm going all in on building my personal brand for the last couple of years now. And it will be my main goal going forward. But it's
so important.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I think it's really cool. Now, what was the next? What were we going to move on before I interrupted you, Alex?
Well, we were talking about the importance of content in like just the today's kind of thing. How about we talk about from a high level? We probably could go into this in more detail in another episode, but let's just talk about like the different mediums of content we have and different platforms we have. There's no point going in depth on each one of this. This is just more of a high level importance of content podcast. But at high level, you know, let's just talk social media a second. We have,
but you know, I think we could. I think even before we can do that. We can actually talk about this podcast. This is an example. Might as well use this as an example.
Yeah. This is a good example of not content.
So we're creating this podcast because like both myself and Alex, we work on certain projects together. We don't work on other projects together, but this podcast is kind of like it's an example of us, you know, finding our voices on podcasting, because this is not something you've done, Alex. But also it's about us kind of like growing as content creators. It's about us documenting what we're learning in business and marketing, which is pretty cool stuff. And like, that wouldn't be your traditional content you would create, Alex, normally.
No, not really. I mean, I've got a few different channels going now, which are like a mix of education and entertainment. So I am kind of moving into doing more tutorial style stuff, like educating people on things that I know about, which makes you think about content a completely different way, because you have to break something down and then rebuild it so somebody understands where you're at. That's basically what content is. Whereas entertainment content is literally like you showing what you're up to, or, you know, whatever it is. Doesn't have to be that much thought that goes into it. Well, there is, but it's a different style of content creation.
Yeah.
So this is more like, yes, we're just talking now and riffing on different topics and stuff, but we're also trying to like softly educate people on what we're learning, in the hope that maybe other people can learn from our mistakes or follow in our footsteps, or, you know, whatever. And the funny thing is as well, when you start to talk about what you're doing or teaching something, for example, you actually learn what you're talking about much better, because you have to think about something in a completely different way when you're trying to teach somebody else it, because you have to think of all the different components that make up this skill set you have, or this achievement you've done. And you have to break it down into its components, and then you have to show someone how to rebuild it back into the whole piece. So it's a very different way of content creation.
Absolutely.
I would say a podcast like this, there's obviously different ways of creating content. Like I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here or not, but like we've obviously got like platforms where Peter is starting to grow his following on now, TikTok and Instagram and YouTube Shorts, which are very much like growth levers. So they're just places where you would create short form content to get someone's attention. And then when we look at things like written newsletters, YouTube videos, like long form YouTube videos, and even podcasts, that's kind of like when you're showing your authentic self and actually teaching someone on a deeper level. So there's kind of like a few different styles of content, and there's like different levels to creating content, is what I've learned anyway. And the way you create in these different levels is different to grab someone's attention versus educating them through stuff. Because you try to educate someone on TikTok like you would in a podcast, it's not going to do half as well if you're just trying to grab their attention. So there's a lot of thought that goes into it. If you want to grow an audience, this isn't actually create as much impact as you can with your content. That's obviously what people want to do. That's the goal of content, right? To increase someone's visibility, to grow a brand, to build an audience, to make more sales, to get more customers. That's the goal of content, to share a message. So, yeah,
absolutely.
I'm real. I could literally riff on content all day. Like,
I think you could.
I could talk for. You probably could as well. I mean, I could talk for hours on it. Hours.
But do you know what? We'll do that. I think we'll do that. Do you know what we'll do? I think this episode now is 24 minutes long. So what I reckon, this should be a part 1, and then there should be a part 2. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll do some more episodes in the future on like maybe more of the specifics of content creation on different platforms and different levels. But this episode is basically just a high level talk about like how important content is in this digital economy, and like how it will be going forward, and how you can take advantage of it.
Do you know how you take advantage of it, Alex? You just get started.
Do you know what? Let's just get started. And
you just
again,
get started.
harder said than done. But
but
literally,
you just have to do it.
Yeah, you have to just get out your own way and start. No matter how shit it will be, the first time you put yourself out, accept it's going to be a pile.
Terrible.
It's going to be horrendous. You are going to sound ridiculous. You're going to, oh my God. Whether it's written, audio, or video, it will be really bad. But if you prepare yourself for that, it can only get better. And the more you do it, the better you'll get, the faster you'll get at it.
Well, like, you know, we've removed, as I've often said on this podcast, this is us learning podcasting, really, and learning how to share what we're doing. And to be completely honest with you, these podcasts, if you listen to someone else's, you know, they could be much more polished, but this is the real us. But I think give us time, we will get better and better and better. So I've removed myself from like, oh, this has to be perfect, because you'll never get it perfect. It'll never will be perfect. Even when you're 100 episodes in, it's not perfect. It's better than what it was, but still not perfect. So you just need to start, and you start getting better.
Yeah. Yep.
So folks, as always, please make sure, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. Leave us a comment. Let us know you're there. Let us know if you're enjoying these episodes. We enjoy making them. I think that's fair to say. Alex said it on a post. We all enjoy making them, and we're going to keep making them.
Yep. Good stuff, guys. We'll see you in the next episode.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.